Welcome to another late edition of MLS Matchweek review. So, the good news is I actually have now finished all my exams today and school is finally out. The bad news is that I have a new gig that I'm starting in the summer and I'm going to be doing it throughout the summer, and it is a 40-hour gig, and that job is going to be a 12 to 9 p.m. shift. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult in terms of balancing that and also still doing my video. And most of my video recording will be during the night, which means I'm going to have to make a decision. Should I release the video late at night, or should I just kind of schedule it to the next morning, and that's where the video is going to be up. But the good news about that gig is, despite the fact it is a 40-hour full-time gig, it's not a weekend shift, which means that I won't miss any weekend action. The bad news is I will miss those weekday action because, you know, in the weekdays, most of the game starts around like 4 o'clock, and that is when I'm at the middle of my shift. But that being said, let's actually get into this week's action. And obviously, we had a historical feat during this week that one player achieved, which I'll get to talk about, and I also made a video about that yesterday. And this was also the week of red cards, because in 5 of the 11 games, almost half of the games that we had in the 11-game slate of MLS Matchweek number 12 feature a red card. But we start with the first game that did not feature a red card, but did not also feature any goals. There was a couple of games that also ended with a 0-0 draw, and one of them is Montreal against New England, which ended 0-0. Now, in the first half, there was definitely chances for both teams to score. The best chance was Urruti's shot that was clear off the line by Anababa. So Urruti was trying to chip the New England goalkeeper, and Anababa literally, with some last-ditch defending, literally stretch out as hard as he can to clear that ball off the line. And I think that was really probably the difference between New England walking out of Montreal with 1 point, or Montreal getting all 3 points in this game. Now, in the second half, there wasn't as much action as it was in the first half, but good news for Montreal fan is that Nacho Piatti, for 2 months, he's been absent, and I've been always talking about, you know, maybe Piatti is not going to be available for this game. Well, it turns out that he was available for this game, and that he did come off the bench. Didn't really make a lot of impact, which, you know, it's understandable because of the fact that he just came off of an injury, and he hasn't been playing for a long period of time, so rust is going to definitely show there. But yeah, in the end, it was a scoreless draw between both of these teams. And in terms of the shots in this game, Montreal has 10 shots compared to 9 that New England has. 2 shots on goal compared to 4 that New England has. 6 shots off target compared to 2 that New England has. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that New England has. And Montreal has 62% possession compared to 38% possession. But in the end, New England, you know, they'll definitely be very happy with a draw in this game. You know, they usually, whenever they go to Montreal, they rarely get any result against Montreal. So this was one of the rare times that they were able to get a point out of that. And if you're Montreal, you know, this is definitely a disappointing result, because you're playing against one of the weakest team in the league. And albeit that team just had kind of a revolution these past week, but still, you would think that they should be able to beat this team. And the fact that with Piatti now coming back, you know, maybe you should have scored at least a goal or 2 in this game. But that being said, speaking of Piatti, that probably is the only good news coming out of this game for Montreal, as, you know, with Piatti back, and if he does get back to full fitness, this would definitely be a team that you would really want to keep an eye on, because this, you know, without Piatti, we know Montreal is a dangerous team. Now with Piatti, it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen. But moving on into the next match is TFC. Boy, Toronto, they are in a tailspin right now. They lost 3-0 in this game, and Pozuelo basically showed his frustration in this game and really kind of show how he was just he was getting tired of the fact that he was the center of this team. And a lot of people don't know, the reason why Pozuelo decided to come to TFC wasn't because of the fact that he wanted to come to MLS, but it's just that he wanted to get that attention off of the fact that he doesn't want to be the main guy. One of the things that he didn't like when he was with Genk is that he was kind of the main guy, and that he felt like he needs to get away from there and just kind of be, he doesn't want to be kind of the leader and the guy that they're going to be depending on in terms of scoring goal. Now, unfortunately, I don't think he realized that when he comes to TFC, when TFC decided to pay him like $10 million, they expect him to be the main guy. And, it just feels like in these past couple of games, obviously Pozuelo have not been playing very well. And that a lot of that has to do with the fact that none of his teammates can actually score a goal. So despite the fact that he's putting beautiful ball to his teammate just doesn't find ways to put the ball into the back of the net and always squander those chances. And, it's clear that he showed his frustration in this game, and that is why he got sent off in the 61st minute. Now, going back to the beginning of this game and in the first half, RSL got on the board very early with Damar Krylek scoring to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. And then Bofo Salcedo scored from Toya. And is this going to be the goal of the week? Because man, what a hit this was from Bofo Salcedo. And Salcedo had an incredible game in this one. Got a goal in this game and also got an assist in the second half when he assisted Savarino to make it 3-0. And like I said, a minute later, that's when Pozuelo kind of said, yeah, I have enough of this. I'm tired of the fact that we're losing this. And I know he doesn't say that, after all this, he did apologize to the fans that he lost his composure during this game and that he'll try to learn from this mistake, and hopefully that will never happen. Which I always like how players, whenever they know that they made a mistake and they know that they lost their composure, they would just go onto social media and apologize to the fans. But I can understand that he is absolutely frustrating with this team. I mean, this TFC team right now, I talked about before of the fact that the defense is a huge issue. And in this game, it was once again a huge issue and once again a dumpster fire where you can tell a couple of the goals that TFC conceded, it was just sloppy defensive kind of mistake. But it's also the fact that they just cannot score right now. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't have a goal scorer besides Altidore. And although Altidore just came back into this game, did come on as a sub because Pozuelo is not there. And he came on right after when Pozuelo got sent off. That's when things got rugged again. It's like if Pozuelo and Altidore is not on the same pitch, TFC is not really going to find a way to score goals. You need to have those two players on the pitch in order for TFC to score a goal. And that is a big, big concern if that is the way how it would be, because of the fact that, we've seen this season, it is, when Pozuelo came in, we did see that flashes of brilliance of him making a good connection with him and Altidore, but it just felt like either one of these guys does not stay healthy, or one of these guys just decided to get suspended, which in this game, that's what happened to Pozuelo. Now, in terms of the shots in this game, RSL had 19 shots compared to 10 that TFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to 3 that TFC had, 10 shots off target compared to 5 that TFC had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that TFC had, and TFC had 52% possession compared to 48% possession. So for RSL, this is a good victory for them. It's good to pick up all 3 points and put up a beautiful performance in front of their fans. But for TFC, yeah, this is really concerning with the way that they are just heading into a tailspin. And they got to, like in the summer, first of all, they got to bring another attacker. It is clear that if this team needs another attacker, I know the defense is something that they might need to think about addressing it, but this is a team that is known to just kind of a team that wants to just score goals and kind of outscore an opponent. But if you're not outscoring your opponent and your defense is a dumpster fire and your team can score goals, then this is exactly what the result can happen to you. But moving on into the next match is another scoreless draw. This time it's between the Union and the Sounders. Now, I was very looking forward to this game because this was a game between the top team in the East versus the second team in the West. But unfortunately, my excitement pretty much just got killed in the beginning of this game when I found out that Seattle decided to make 5 changes in this game and that they pretty much put most of their reserve in this one. And as much as I hate the fact that they did it, I can understand why Brian Schmitzer decided to do that because, they just play a Wednesday game against Orlando City and that they have to fly all the way across the other side of the country on a short rest, and whenever that happens, that you can't just put your starting 11 out there and expect them to play full 90 minutes and expect them to do very well. So in some way, Schmitzer, he was being smart and think that, most likely, if I decided to put my starting 11 in this game, and that it is a tired starting 11 against one of the best team in the East, it's not really going to work out very well. And that if it doesn't work out, now I basically burn my team in this game in terms of the fatigueness and the fact that I didn't get anything out of this game. So he decided to just give some of his reserve a chance to play in this game, and the reserve really stepped up in this game. Not really on the attacking side, but more on the defensive side where the reserve defense really stepped up. But it was also kind of a combination of Philly just dominated in this game, but just couldn't score a goal. I mean, this sounds very similar to what happened last year where they were having this kind of issue. And the only reason why they're not having this issue this year is that they actually score those goals that they're supposed to put away when they create those chances. And also it was a combination of Stefan Fry basically stood on his head in this game and basically stole this game for the Seattle Sounders. I mean, he made a lot of big save in this game. Probably the biggest one was when Medunian was hitting on a free kick, and I think this was in the 71st minute. It was a perfect free kick from Harris Medunian, but Stefan Fry with a fingertip save to prevent Philly of getting that opening goal and potentially getting all 3 points. And in terms of the shots in this game, Philly had 20 shots compared to 6 that Seattle has, 6 shots on goal compared to 1 that Seattle has, 9 shots off target compared to 4 that Seattle had, 5 block shots compared to 1 that Seattle has, and Philly had 68% possession compared to 32% possession. But still, at the end of the day, all that didn't matter because Philly just couldn't finish, and it was also a combination of Seattle really stepped up and that they got the point that they definitely deserve with all the hard work that the reserve and also what Stefan Fry did in this game. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and before I get into this game, I just want to say that I already made a video talking about Wando historic goals, all-time goal scoring record that I did yesterday, and I basically recap of how he actually got to that point. But talk about this game. Yeah, this is going to be a game that, as a Quakes fan, I'm going to remember for a very, very long time. And, I think if I had to rank this game in terms of what all the games that I went to Avaya Stadium to watch or go to Stanford Stadium to watch the Quakes play, I think this would definitely be in the top 5. I still think the game against Minnesota where we scored the late winner to basically get ourselves into the playoffs, that is still going to be my favorite moment, and it's going to be very hard to top that unless if we do something spectacular in the playoffs. But this is going to be one of them, mainly because I witnessed history in this game, and Wando basically not only smashed the all-time goal-scoring record, but he did it in style, and he did something that he has never done in his career. In the first half, Wando, of course, scores from Salinas, and also, as much as I want to say Wando did a good job in terms of finally breaking this record, he also got a lot of help in terms of the Fire defense, which, coming into this game, the Fire defense was actually doing very well, and then after this game, it was a dumpster fire again. And in this first goal, which Wando, of course, ties the record with Landon Donovan, I put lazy defending from Francesco Calvo. I mean, this ball was played right into the box from Salinas. Francesco Calvo was right there in the box. All he has to do was maybe stick a leg out and intercept that ball. But nope, he decided to let that ball pass, and he didn't realize that Wando was in the back post, and Wando basically put it away. But still, that was just lazy defending from Francesco Calvo. And not only the Quakes fans are celebrating that goal because of Wando tying the record, but I'm pretty sure somewhere in Minnesota, a lot of Minnesota fans are also celebrating and kind of laughing at Chicago and saying, see, I told you that he wasn't very good. I mean, you fought in the first 2 games that with him there and you got back-to-back clean sheet, it was a great thing. Yeah, it's not. It was really just fool's goal. And then late in the, or after a couple of minutes in this first half, Vega actually almost made a shocking goalkeeping howler where he basically just played the ball right to Nikolic, and Nikolic was one-on-one with Vega. And to be fair, Vega, he redeemed himself by making a big save. But seriously, Nikolic, how in the world did you not put that one away? And I think this season, that's been what Chicago Fire fans has been saying throughout this season. What is going on with Nemanja Nikolic in terms of missing sitters? This is a guy that a couple of years ago, he was the Golden Boot winner, and a couple of years ago, he would bury that 10 out of 10 time. But now, he just missed some very terrible shot, and that wasn't the worst sitters that he missed. Right as we head into halftime, he had it was a ball that was played from Katai, and Nikolic was right there, 3 yards out. All he had to do is just kind of do a little diving header, and he did do that, but he puts it over the bar. Like, how in the world do you miss a diving header from 3 yards out when the ball is literally put right on the plate for you? And it was also a free header too. Like, nobody was marking Nikolic there. It was poor defending from the Quakes, but Nikolic couldn't take advantage of it. And, after the first half, as much as I was happy the fact that we were up 1-0, man, we could have easily been down 2-1 or be at 1-1 at this point. But in the second half, I thought the defense really kind of stepped up a little bit. The first half, I thought the defense looked very sloppy, but in the second half, they really stepped up, and that's when the Fire really didn't had a lot of chances in the second half. And the second half is where Wando basically took over. In the 48th minute, Wando, of course, scores, and with that goal, breaks the MLS all-time goal-scoring record, surpassing Landon Donovan's record and scoring his 146th goal. But David Ousted, yeah, I would definitely like to thank him for gifting this record to him, because he simply just dropped the ball. Like, the ball was coming in. All he had to do is just catch the ball. And I understand that it was raining in this game and the ball obviously is very wet. But seriously, how in the world did you not catch that? And there was Wando who, throughout his career, Wando has always known as kind of a poacher kind of striker. He's not a striker that's known to make some fantastic run and strike it from distance. He's a striker that always gets into the right spot at the right time. And that goal that Wando scored to surpass Donovan's record, that was just a classic Wando goal. I mean, that was just it doesn't get more of a Wando goal than what he just did, where he just basically took advantage of the mistake that Ousted has and poke it into the back of the net. And he's already had an amazing day, but he's not done yet, because in the 74th minute, Wando would score again from Espinoza to complete his hat trick to make it 3-0 in favor of Chicago. I believe that's his first hat trick since when he scored a hat trick against Portland a couple of years ago, also at home, and also a game that I actually attended. And then, just to make it even more special, and just like, he's already had an amazing day, but he also wanted to put an exclamation mark and also kind of do a personal best in this game too by scoring his 4th goal from Jackson Yule, which his 4th goal was the first time that he has ever scored 4 goals in a single game. And although I said that Jackson Yule did a beautiful pass to Wando to set him up for this 4th goal, I also want to say that this was just schoolboy defending from the Chicago Fire. Like, when the ball was coming in, there was like 5 Chicago Fire defender in the box, and all of them literally just ball watched that one play into the middle of the box. And I mean, I'm just stunned. Like, last season, this is something that I seen the Quakes defense do regularly, and I know that at times they kind of do the same thing, but watching an opponent doing the same thing against us, man, that just shows you how last season, when I said that the Quakes was just defending very badly, and now seeing the opposition decide to do kind of the Quake style kind of defense, it kind of makes me a little bit satisfied, but at the same time just shows how bad we were last season in terms of our whole defensive shape. But yeah, of course, Wando, of course, scored his fourth goal, and I also forgot the fact that Chicago actually scored a consolation goal. I forgot to put that on the board, and it was Katai that scored a consolation goal, and it was a bit of an unfortunate goal to concede because, Cummins, he was trying to block the shot, but unfortunately he kind of partially blocked the shot, and instead of maybe blocking the shot and goes out of play, it basically ricocheted right back into the back of the net. It took a wicked deflection, and that was basically our clean sheet gone. And that was really the only bad thing about this game, is that, as much as Wando had a historic day, we also won a clean sheet in this game, which unfortunately Vega wasn't able to do. And there was nothing he can do about that. That was just one of those goals where it just took a wicked deflection and it just ended into the back of the net. But yeah, that is the final score in this game. And in terms of the shots in this game, it was relatively even. 21 shots compared to 16 that Chicago has. 7 shots on goal compared to 3 that Chicago has. 5 shots off target compared to 8 that Chicago has. 9 shots that was blocked compared to 5 that Chicago has. And possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that the Chicago Fire has. And the difference in this game was basically Wando carrying this team on his back, but also the difference of this game was that one team cannot finish, the other team was able to capitalize their opportunity, and the other team basically decided to capitalize all the big mistake that the Chicago Fire defense made. And yeah, this is a great win for the Quakes, and obviously I know, even though this is just 3 points for the Quakes, a lot of people is going to be talking about this game as the game where Wando basically broke the record, and he did it in style. And as for the Chicago Fire, like I said, that defense, my oh my, this was probably the worst defensive display I've seen the Chicago Fire put. And it's even worse than when they gave up 4 goals to the Sounders, because at least in that game against the Seattle Sounders, there was a couple of goals that I think maybe there was nothing they can do to give up. All these goals that I saw that the Quakes score, it could have been easily prevented if there was more defensive structure. So that is something that they're going to have to really figure it out. And yeah, moving on into the next match, and I know I spent a lot of time talking about this game because this was such a historical game that I have to spend a lot of time talking about. But now finally moving on into the next match is Minnesota. They get a 1-0 win against Columbus, and in many ways they definitely deserved this victory because they were very unlucky in the first half to not score 2 goals. In the first half, 6 minutes into this game, Quintero scores the first goal for Minnesota, only for it to be called back for offside, and when you look on the replay, it was pretty clear that he was in an offside position. And then the same thing happened right before the end of the first half. And originally this goal was actually given, but then they actually go to VAR, and you can clearly see that Quintero was in an offside position when the corner was coming in. So it's unfortunate that Minnesota had to halftime 0-0, but they eventually did get that breakthrough, and they get the breakthrough from the former Columbus Crew player Ethan Finlay, who scores from Coleman and Mentonier. And Finlay, before this game, he actually said that he really want to beat the Columbus Crew, and it kind of surprised me that he said that he really want to beat them, because he spent a lot of time with the Columbus Crew, and usually when you spend a lot of time with them, unless if there's something going on between him and the Columbus front office where they don't have a good relationship, it's kind of surprising that he said that he really wants to beat Columbus and act like Columbus is his main rival. And would you believe the fact that he scored the winning goal in this game? And that, of course, is the final score of this game, as Minnesota, of course, walked out with 3 points. And in terms of the shots in this game, Minnesota had 19 shots compared to 4 that Columbus had. 3 shots on goal compared to none that Columbus had. 12 shots off target compared to 2 that Columbus had. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Columbus had. And Minnesota had 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Columbus had. And as for Columbus, it's another game where the attack is basically toothless. And it is clear that this Columbus team right now, not only they're heading into a tailspin right now, but it's clear that this attacking kind of drought that they are in has really kind of took its toll. I mean, I know that this team has a very good defense, but if you cannot score goals like that they're doing right now, you are not going to win a lot of game. And for Minnesota, obviously, they'll be happy with this 1-0 win, but at the same time, I feel like they're still a little bit concerned with the fact that they had a lot of chance in this game. They had 19 shots in this game, but only 3 of them were on target. And what that really tells me is that they are not. They're basically shooting from everywhere, and that they're not taking some quality chances and putting away those quality chances. So that's something that Minnesota has to work out. But as for Columbus, they got to figure out this attacking problem. Like, they got to do something in the summer in terms of getting an attacking piece. And it's kind of surprised where, this is kind of foreshadow a little bit in terms of the news of the week video that I'm going to do on Wednesday, is that they decided to trade Akam to Nashville in the 2020 season. So kind of surprised why they decided to do that when Akam would have been a perfect option for them to add some attacking kind of threat to this team, where this team just had no attacking threat whatsoever. I mean, I think besides FC Cincinnati, this attack is probably the worst attack in the league right now. But moving on into the final game on this board is SKC. So they drew 1-1 in this game against the Whitecaps, and SKC, they finally started to get a little bit healthier, and that back line is started to kind of form in a shape that is kind of like the strongest back line that SKC can put. But in this game, they dropped points in this one, and they dropped points in a very infuriating fashion. But in the first half, Namath scored to make it 1-0 in favor of SKC. And remember, last year when SKC and Vancouver play at Children's Mercy Park, this was a 6-0 rout by SKC. And Vancouver actually had 2 men sent off in this game. In this game, it was kind of, I wouldn't say the table really turned because Vancouver didn't really win this game, but it was SKC turn to basically get a man sent off. And would you believe it would be Namath who scored the first goal for SKC, got sent off in the 51st minute, and this was an absolute nasty challenge that Namath did to one of the Vancouver player. I mean, he basically puts his stud up, and whenever that happens, yeah, that is an automatic red card. That shouldn't even be a discussion of whether or not if that's a red card or not. But despite that, SKC, they were kind of holding on, and you would think that maybe if they will kind of seal this one out, Vancouver, they were trying their best to maybe go on the attack and trying to take advantage of that man advantage, and it looked like they didn't quite do that. But in the 94th minute, Cornelius scores from Adnan to tie the game up. And before that, I actually put what was Croiset thinking trying to chip the goalkeeper from 60 yards out. So about 20 seconds before Cornelius scored the equalizer goal for Vancouver, Johan Croiset had the ball in a wide open space where there was nobody in front of him and nobody around him, and all he has to do is that he can just maybe dribble around, just kind of kill some of the clock. Like, you are down a man in this game, and it's the 93rd minute, and you're only up 1-0. Why in God's name do you decide to try to chip the goalkeeper and decided to be fancy and just basically give it right back to Vancouver and give them one more shot in terms of attacking? Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, you can't just put all the blame on him because of that. And in some way, I won't put a lot of the blame on Croiset, the fact that this was the reason why it cost the game. But still, it's a very stupid kind of play, and just it's common sense. of the fact that when you're 1-0 up at home and you're down a man, and we're into the 93rd minute and you only got 1 minute left before the game, all you had to do is just either just dribble it toward the corner, kill some time off, or just decided to just maybe decides to hold on to the ball. And if Vancouver, of course, decide to be aggressive and foul you, then let them foul you, because that will kill more time off the clock. There is absolutely no excuses and no reason for Croisset to go for a 60-yard chip. And Maxime Crepeau, we know that he's been an incredible goalkeeper, and he's been a goalkeeper that is in form in these last couple of weeks. There is no way in the world he's going to be fooled by that. Like, he basically, like, as that ball was chipped into the net, he basically just kind of backed up and then just kind of catch the ball like it's routine. And yeah, it is just absolute stupidity by Croisset there that was partially the reason why it cost SKC all 3 points in this game. But in terms of the shots in this game, SKC had 15 shots compared to 11 that Vancouver has, 7 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had, 3 shots off target compared to 5 that the Whitecaps had, 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had, and the Whitecaps had 54% possession compared to 46% possession. And, you know, for the Whitecap, this is definitely a good point for them. I mean, you know, this Whitecaps team, I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, I really like this team, and I really like the fact that they are showing game in and game out. They're showing the resilience of just there's a lot of fighting spirit in this team, where they just would not go down in a game and refuse to lose a game. And despite the fact that most of the pieces that they got, especially on the attacking side, hasn't really gelled very well, they're still grinding out resort, and they're still trying to kind of steal a point, like here against SKC, in order to try to make their way up into the playoff spot. But that being said, I am now going to switch board and talk about the other 5 games that happened this weekend. So for those people wondering why exactly I am wearing a hat, and that I usually never wear hats when I do previews and review, and for a good reason, because, you know, you can tell from this video where you can't really see kind of my face. It's kind of black out, and it's all because of the lighting here in the ceiling. But the reason why I decided to wear a hat is because I had a haircut this weekend, and I swear that will be the last time where I will go to that specific barbershop to get myself a haircut, because he did a very bad job in terms of cutting. The person that was trying to cut my hair, and yeah, that's why I decided to wear a hat. I don't want to really show you guys my bad haircut on camera, and I'm going to continue to do that until my hair started to kind of grow back and it started to not look as ugly as what he did during this weekend. But that being said, let's get back into the games, and we start off on this board with Houston. So they won 2-1 against DC. They come from behind to win 2-1 against DC United, but it might have come with a bit of a price, because in the first half, their best player, Albert Elise, was involved with a nasty collision with Steven Bourbon. And, you know, when we talk about soccer and we talk about how concussion and what's the biggest cause of concussion in soccer is when both players decide to go for the same ball and they basically clash of heads. And this is exactly what happened in this situation. And, you know, Bourbon, obviously, he was bleeding, and I thought for sure that Bourbon was going to get substitute off in this game because he was bleeding, but apparently they taped him up and he was good to go for the rest of the game. But Elise, who was not bleeding with his head, he wasn't able to continue this game, and he has to go to the locker room to do the concussion protocol. I heard the concussion protocol said that he passed all the concussion protocol, but the thing is, he did not come back in this game, and you don't know if it's gonna be a serious head injury that Elise suffered, and that he could be out for Houston for a long time. And if that is the case, that is a huge blow to Houston. But in this game, you know, despite the fact that they did not have Elise in this game, it just feel like Houston, they were kind of like, they feel extra motivated that they want to win this game for Albert Elise. But in the second half, and, you know, in the first half, besides that nasty collision with Elise and Bourbon, there was really nothing happened in the first half. But in the second half, Rooney scores from Segura, and what a ball that was from Ulysses Segura that just put it on a plate to Wayne Rooney. Rooney basically tapped it in to give DC the 1-0 lead. But Houston then pretty much turned the game on its head by scoring 2 goals in a span of 2 minutes. First, it was Memo Rodriguez scoring from Bonic Garcia to make it 1-1. Then Tommy McNamara scored from Adam Lundqvist to make it 2-1 for Houston. And then in the 85th minute, Arriola pretty much took out his frustration by stamping Adam Lundqvist. Automatic red card in that incident. And that is the final score of this game. So in terms of the shots in this game, Houston had 20 shots compared to 11 that DC had. 4 shots on goal compared to 2 that DC had. Both teams had 7 shots off target. Houston had 11 block compared to 2 that DC had, and Houston had 55% possession compared to 45% possession. So, for Houston, this is definitely a statement win saying that, hey, we can definitely beat and go toe-to-toe against the big team too. Although, having said that, depend on if Elise is going to be all right and whether if he's going to be out for a long time because of the head injury. This might not be kind of a statement win, and there might be some concern of the fact that, without Elise, how is this team going to operate? And I know they operate pretty well without him, but that was because it just felt like in this game they want extra motivation. Seeing one of their best player, and well, not one of the best player, but the best player on this team went out with a nasty injury. The question is how they will respond in future game. And as for DC, yeah, this is a very frustrating resort. You go on the road, you took a 1-0 lead, and then to add insult to injury, one of your players gets sent off, and it's one of your most important attacking piece, that is Paul Arriola. And yeah, they're going to have to try to bounce back after this game. But moving on into the next game of this weekend, and now heading into the Sunday action, is Orlando. Well, they put an absolute smacking of FC Cincinnati in this game. And all this talk about FC Cincinnati in the last game of how Yohan Damet probably find the identity of this team. Yeah, he clearly did not find an identity in this game. And this is why I said in the last game, when you are an interim head coach and you're playing your first game, usually a lot of these interim head coaches, they usually win their first game because the opponent doesn't have a book on you. Once they decide to have a book on you after that first game, then we'll see how it goes. And it showed in this game that it's clear that Orlando City kind of had a book of how Yohan Damet play. And in the way that FC Cincinnati play, in some way, they weren't really playing what Yohan Damet want them to play, which is they want to keep possession. It almost felt like Alan Koch was still taking charge of this team with the way that FC Cincinnati was playing. But to be fair, FC Cincinnati, they actually got off to a positive start with Maddox scoring from Alexander. And then after that, they just sat back. And this is kind of a very typical kind of Alan Koch kind of style where, either in the beginning of the game, we just sit back, and even after we score a goal, we're just going to sit back and hope for the best. And well, I understand on the road you kind of have to do that. You don't do it do it in an extreme force. And in this game, it was just after FC Cincinnati got that first goal, they basically just shut down shop thinking that it was just enough. And boy, it definitely was not enough. Because in the 37th minute, Tesha Akindele scores from Johnson to make it get 1-1 in this game. And then in the second half, that's when the floodgates basically open. In the 50th minute, Orlando City actually won a penalty. Nani actually missed the penalty, but he was able to score on the rebound. And then Nani scores again for Rion to make it 3-1 in favor of Orlando City. And this is when the floodgates also start to begin too. Akindele then make it 4-1 and score his second goal of this game. And then in the 82nd minute, guess who it is that finally got on the score sheet? Yup, that's right. It's Dom Dwyer score from Coman to make it 5-1 in favor of Orlando City. And this goal has to feel good for Dom Dwyer. I mean, we talk about how Dom Dwyer, he is a striker that is clearly in probably one of the worst slumps that he has ever had in his career, and that he just have no confidence whatsoever. Now that he finally scored a goal, let's see if he can finally get going. And this has to be great news for Orlando City to see Dom Dwyer finally scoring a goal, and that maybe this will really get the confidence up for him and get kind of the Dom Dwyer kind of player that has been for the past couple of season. But yeah, that of course is your final score in this game. And in terms of the shots in this game, Orlando City had 17 shots compared to 5 that FC Cincinnati has. 9 shots on goal compared to 3 that FC Cincinnati has. 5 shots off target compared to 2 that FC Cincinnati has. 3 shots blocked compared to none that FC Cincinnati has. And Orlando City has 61% possession compared to 39% possession. And FC Cincinnati, this is the first time in their MLS history that they have conceded 5 goals. Before they conceded 4 goals against Seattle. And in some way, this game is kind of similar to that one where, they got out to a early lead and things were looking good, and then it basically just collapsed in the second half. And, for FC Cincinnati, it is clear that, first, they need to bring an attacker in the summer, but second, giving 5 goals up against an Orlando City team that was coming into this game, and it just feel like eventually the floodgates just burst for Orlando City. Like, after all these weeks of Orlando City putting so much pressure on team, but yet they just keep missing so many chances, it just felt like it was a matter of time where they're just going to have an outburst, and this was finally the game where they have that outburst. And hopefully now that with this kind of outburst, they can finally get things going. But as for FC Cincinnati, it's just, you thought last week was kind of something, maybe a sign of fresh air for this team. No, it's not. It's just got much worse this season. But moving on to the game of the week, and man, if you want to see a real MLS rivalry, this is definitely one of them. And although this is a rivalry that, it's probably one of the newest one, both of these teams, they never really have a lot of history against each other. After this game, it's clear that this is definitely a rivalry, and that, I think Atlanta's probably have a bigger rivalry now with the Red Bulls than they do have with Orlando City, because, there was definitely a lot of emotion shown in this game, and especially at the end of the game, which, of course, I'll get to that. But in the first half, Tarek made a last-ditch tackle on Joseph Martinez, and Joseph Martinez was actually going through on goal. And then, Martinez, he decided to try to be a little bit cute and trying to hold on to the ball and go around Luis Robles. We've seen a couple of times where he does that in the record-breaking season, where he decided to be a little bit cute, kind of go around the keeper and scoring that. Sometimes you see striker does that, but I feel like Martinez, he was just being way too cute there. And credit to Arnold Tarek. I mean, he originally was beat, and then he basically get back and redeem himself by making a last-ditch tackle on Joseph Martinez. And in many ways, Atlanta should have been 1-0 up in this game. And then, just 4 minutes later, after that last-ditch tackle and that heroic last-ditch tackle that Tarek has, this is where the controversy began in this game. Because, all big games always have to have a controversy in MLS. It's just the way it is. Parker, of course, got sent off after he was called for a denial of goal score opportunity. And I put soft red card with a question mark, because when you look on that play, it does look like Parker didn't put a lot of contact into Joseph Martinez. And what's also strange about this play is that the referee actually played advantage in this incident, and after Joseph Martinez basically shot that ball off, that's when he basically come back and show the red card. And usually when we see referee shows advantage, they usually don't actually show a card. The only time where they actually does show a card is that if there's an extreme cases like a denial of goal score opportunity. But I don't think I've ever seen a referee playing advantage and after the advantage was over, then he of course sent off a player. Now, I understand that's where a lot of New York Red Bulls fans are kind of arguing, saying that, well, you can't send a player off if the referee plays an advantage. But when I read the rule book, I don't see anything that said about how you cannot just send a player off after you play advantage. There's nothing that says that kind of stuff. And when you look on this, yeah, it was definitely a denial of goal score opportunity. Originally, when I look at it, it didn't look like it. I thought maybe Joseph Martinez kind of embellished a little bit, but when I look on the replay, it's clear that Tim Parker, he didn't get a lot of contact, but he just got enough where Martinez basically fall down, and yeah, that is definitely a denial of goal score opportunity, and it is going to be a red card. And again, I understand Red Bulls fans are going to be furious about this, and also this kind of ruins the game a little bit because it just seemed like every time this season, whenever we have an exciting game, it's always ruined by a red card. But I feel like this was justified, considering it was clearly a denial of goal score opportunity. But in the second half, with Elena up a man, I thought they would really push forward, and the Red Bulls, they kind of started to sit back. In the first 20 minutes, the Red Bulls, they pretty much dominated the game. Like, Elena, they didn't have any answer in terms of trying to defend this Red Bulls team. But, in the second half, I thought Elena would really come out of the shell and decide to kind of attack, but they never did. Like, the Red Bulls, they look very comfortable in terms of their defensive shape. And then in the second half and in the 65th minute, that is when the breakthrough happened. And this is when the record that Elena has in terms of the 5 straight game without conceding and going 5 straight clean sheet comes to an end. And the goal scorer for the Red Bulls is an unlikely source. Tom Barlow scores from Royer and Nealis, and Tom Barlow was actually playing his second game in MLS. And although this is not his first game, and I always said that, it just always seems so typical that a Red Bulls player playing his first game would score his debut. It's also kind of typical seeing a Red Bulls player who, play a long time with the academy, then got called up to the senior team, and then he, of course, scored a goal very quickly into his MLS career. And, it's just the way it is, but, I know that Barlow, from what I heard from the announcer, they said that he was scoring regularly in the USL and scoring regularly for that Red Bulls 2 team. And when you can score regularly for your academy team, especially a Red Bulls 2 team, you know that you're definitely going to get chances in MLS, because the Red Bulls academy team, Red Bulls 2 in USL, always seems to bring a lot of good talent to come to MLS. And when they throw those players into the deep end, into the MLS, they tend to do very, very well. And here we go again with Tom Barlow joining the list of members that was a Red Bulls 2 player. Once he comes to MLS, he'd become an excellent kind of player. So, yeah, that, of course, is the final score of this game. But then, after the game, this is where the big talking point. This is another big talking point besides the red card, where Kamar Lawrence and Tito Villalba kind of had some exchanging words. And, Villalba, he kind of went down a little bit too easily, and Kamar Lawrence basically kind of shouted at him, saying that, you went down way too easily. And then Kamar Lawrence basically did kind of like the baby kind of thing, saying that Tito Villalba is kind of a baby, being just kind of just went down too easily. And obviously both of those players kind of did some pushing and shoving. There was no violent contact involved in this. It was just kind of a old-fashioned pushing and shoving. But yeah, it just kind of shows you that both of these teams do not like each other, and I cannot wait until both of these teams are going to be playing against each other. I believe it's going to be July 22nd that they're going to be playing each other, and man, this is definitely going to be a fun rematch when both of these teams will play each other. But in terms of shots in this game, the Red Bulls had 6 shots compared to 13 that Atlanta has. 2 shots on goal each. 3 shots on target compared to 5 that Atlanta has. 6 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that the Red Bulls had. And Atlanta has 67% possession compared to 33% possession. So for the Red Bulls, this is a statement win for them. And for Atlanta, I understand the fact that you can clearly tell this Atlanta team were very exhausted, and that this was the 5th game in 15 days for them. But having said that, when you have that many talent on this team, and I understand Atlanta is trying to play in a style where it's just completely the opposite of what they did last season, where last season they were a free scoring team. This season they'll kind of be a more defensive team under Frank de Boer. I understand that they want to put that as their new identity, which I have no problem with it. I seen good defensive team wins championship and seeing good defensive team can make to the playoffs and make a big run. But having said that, one of the biggest problem with that kind of tactics is that you put a lot of pressure on the defense, and also you got to make sure you score first, because if you don't score first, you're now going to have to chase the game. And knowing the fact that you still go with this defensive kind of structure, yeah, it's going to be much harder in terms of finding a goal. And also, I think this kind of tactics is not going to be very popular to Atlanta fans, because Atlanta fans, they want to see free-flowing attacking soccer. They don't want to see this boring kind of possession, kind of just getting 1 or 2 nothing and kind of defensive shape kind of soccer, because that's not what their brand and their identity is when they come to MLS. But moving on is the rematch of the Thursday game between FC Dallas and LAFC. And just like Thursday game, where there was a lot of controversial call, which unfortunately I wasn't able to talk about, there was also a lot of controversial call in this game. And I can understand why FC Dallas fan is absolutely livid at the referee after this game. But in the first half, Holland's Head scores from Domenico Boggi to get Dallas a 1-0 lead. Beautiful ball there from Boggi to give to Holland's Head, who puts it away. And then in the 34th minute, this is where the controversy began. And the first controversial call, after Brisson basically slid in from behind, took out Vela, and the referee gave a penalty. But when you look on the replay, it looked like Brisson actually got the ball. And I understand whenever you decide to slide in from behind, it's always a big risk, especially when you decide to do that in the penalty box, because sometimes even if you get the ball, as long as if you get enough off the player, if it's a reckless kind of tackle, then yeah, it is going to be a penalty regardless if you get the ball or not from sliding behind. But I really think when I look at this, it wasn't really a reckless tackle that Brisson got, and it's clear that he got the ball. I mean, Vela did went down because of the follow through, but Brisson got the ball, and I can understand why FC Dallas fans were absolutely livid. And I'm pretty sure they're also doubly livid the fact that this was not checked by VAR. Like, I thought for sure that this was going to check by VAR, but it didn't. Referee said it's still a penalty. And, the good news for Dallas is that Jesse Gonzalez, of course, was able to save that. And then it also bring out the whole the ball don't lie kind of thing, which, believe it or not, I actually do believe in that kind of assumption. I mean, sometime when there's always a bad call, something tells me that the penalty is going to be missed because the ball don't lie. But in the second half, that's when the controversy continues. And in the beginning of the second half, Tyler Miller should have been sent off with a denial of goal score opportunity on Ferreira. Like, when Tyler Miller was actually got into a tough spot when he was kind of like dribbling the ball, and as he was about to lose the ball, he actually dragged Ferreira, who was trying to take the ball away from him, and slotted it into the empty net, and there was nobody behind him. That is clearly a denial of goal score opportunity. I do not know how in the world did Tyler Miller was not given his marching order and only given a yellow card by that. Like, that is as obvious as it gets in terms of a denial of goal score opportunity. And again, FC Dallas fan absolutely livid about the referee decision. And then just a couple of minutes later, Hedges also had a denial of goal score opportunity after he basically tackled Vela. Well, he kind of clipped him a little bit, but unlike the Tyler Miller situation where Miller got a yellow card, Hedges got his marching order. And, Vela, he kind of went full Neymar in this instant where he decided to kind of like roll around the ground like 3 times, like what Neymar usually do when he decided to like just go down and rolling on the ground. I mean, that World Cup meme back in the 2018 World Cup. But yeah, I think that was definitely a denial of goal score opportunity, and yes, that definitely is a red card. But why in the world is that a red card, but the Tyler Miller one is not a red card? Both of the incidents were clear denial of goal score opportunity. Why in the world was one player getting sent off and the other player gets the benefit of the doubt. And don't get me started with the goalkeeping situation. A goalkeeper does not get benefit of the doubt for denial of goal scorer opportunity. They might get the benefit of the doubt when they get bumped, but they do not get the benefit of the doubt when they try to deny a goal score opportunity by the opposition team. So, obviously Dallas fan, they're absolutely livid about that. Not because of the sending off, but because it should have been 10v10 right now instead of them down a man for the rest of the game. And then in the 80th minute, Vela, of course, was brought down. Vela, of course, scores a penalty. There was a handball on Brisson that was called, and of course the referee gave a penalty on that. Now, this call, unlike the other call, I feel like this was probably the one that I think both teams would agree, because Brisson, he clearly handballed it. His hand was in an unnatural position, and yep, that was rightly given. Vela actually almost got this penalty save again from Jesse Gonzalez. I mean, Jesse Gonzalez, he is, not only he's been a very decent goalkeeper in this league, but he's also a good penalty kick stopper. And in this second penalty, he dived the right way again. He got a little bit off of that Vela penalty, but unfortunately the power and placement was just too much for Gonzalez to handle. And just like that, it was 1-1, and that actually was the final score of this game, as Dallas had 9 shots compared to 17 that LAFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that LAFC had, 2 shots off target compared to 8 that LAFC had. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 42% possession. But, when you look at this game, I think this game will always be remembered as the controversial call throughout this game, and just the poor refereeing kind of decision that happened in this game. And, while Dallas, I think they should be happy the fact that they were able to held against the best team in the league to just a draw, they would also be absolutely livid the fact that they shouldn't had they should have had a man advantage momentarily after this incident with Tyler Miller, and that if this incident does happen, maybe things could change. Like, you never know. With LAFC down a man, would this Hedges incident would happen? We will never know. So, yeah, obviously, I understand FC Dallas fans are upset about that, but, it's just one of those kind of days where, unfortunately, the referee goes against them. I mean, there's really not much I can say. I mean, so far every team in MLS has got a game where the referee just completely ruins the game, and there's just really not much I would say about that. I mean, if I was a Dallas fan, I would be livid too, but there's really nothing we can do about it unless we can continue to just talk about how Pro is just absolutely being incompetent, and is one of the big reasons why this league is getting held back. But moving on into the last game of this week is Colorado. They did it. They finally got their first win of the season. And you know how on Friday I said that, for Colorado, I think the only way that they can maybe get something out of this, or maybe even get a win, is it's MLS. I mean, anything can happen in MLS. Well, would you believe it? It did happen. Anything did happen in MLS, and that this was just a very typical MLS kind of resort. And, to be fair, when you look at the scoreline where Colorado won 1-0, you think, okay, maybe Colorado got lucky and that they probably defended a lot in this game. No, they absolutely deserved 3 points in this game. In fact, I was surprised they didn't score more than 1 goal in this game. The Galaxy, this was probably the worst performance I have seen them play throughout the entire year. Like, in the first half there was no score, but they gave up a couple of decent opportunity that Colorado could have be up 1-0. And then in the second half, that is when they pretty much gave up most of the opportunity, and that Colorado they were threatening, and they were getting so close to scoring a goal and getting that opening goal. And part of the reason why they didn't get it is because it was them just not being clinical and just being kind of just making just bad misses in front of goal. I think the worst one was right about the 57th minute where Kai Kamara had an empty net to shoot in the back post. And although the angle was kind of against him, how in the world does he not score that goal? And how in the world does he not get his 120th goal in MLS? And now getting one goal closer to Wando's all-time goal scoring record. So yeah, that should have been 1-0 for Colorado, but thankfully Colorado did eventually get this goal, and it would be the Snow Classico hero that got the goal. Yep, that's right. It's Andre Shinishiki who, of course, scored that third and equalizer goal in that Snow Classico against Portland Timbers, able to score the winning goals in this game, and that is the final score of this game. And with that result, Colorado have now snapped the longest winning run to start an MLS season, and LA losing streak has now reached to 4 games. In terms of the shots in this game, Colorado had 22 shots in this game. I mean, that not only is the most shot that they have, but I don't remember the last time Colorado had 22 shots on the row. Like, I think as much as this is a surprising result, what's even more surprising of the fact is that it just felt like Colorado were like the Galaxy, and the Galaxy was kind of like the Colorado team, and that it feels like the Galaxy was the one that is winless coming into this game. And in terms of the shots on goal in this game, both teams had 6 shots on goal, 11 shots off target compared to 7 that the Galaxy had. Both teams had 5 shots that was blocked, and the Galaxy, despite the fact that they had 67% possession compared to 33% possession, they were caught out so many times at the back by this Rapids team that did a very good job in terms of counter-attacking. And I also understand that Galaxy fan will say, well, we didn't have Zlatan in this game, and that is why we lost this one. Well, yeah, maybe that is the case, but this has been the problem with the Galaxy. And right now, it's clear that teams have found them out, and that it's clear that this Galaxy team, after this great start that they have in the beginning of the season, it's clear that that great start was all because of the fact that they were being one-dimensional, and that all they did was just crossing the ball to Zlatan, and that while Zlatan does a good job of scoring those goals, and even like near the end of the winning streak, you can clearly see that there were some alarm bell ring that, yeah, the Galaxy, they're getting away with a couple of these resorts. And I think this 4-game winless run and this 4-game losing streak is pretty much just show that alarm bell right at the end of the winning streak where, yeah, eventually they are not going to get that luck, and that if Zlatan is not going to be scoring goal, and if opponents just simply shut down Zlatan and simply just deal with the crosses that the Galaxy trying to send, they'll be fine. They can just score a goal for them, and they're able to shut down this Galaxy attack. I mean, right now, this Galaxy attack, yeah, it just felt like it's Zlatan or bust for them. And if that is the way the Galaxy is going to approach at the end of the season, I guarantee you this team is not going to make the playoffs. I guarantee you the fact that this team is going to be like the team from last season and in the previous season, where they are not going to get the goals. Because it's one thing to just rely on one player to score you the goal, but it's another to just seriously rely on him and do it throughout the whole season. We've seen teams in the past where I don't think I remember a team where only one player was able to score all the goals, and that he was able to, and that team was able to make the playoffs. And some people will say, well, what about Atlanta, with Joseph Martinez scoring all the goals? Well, yeah, it is, but still, even in that Atlanta team, even though Joseph did score half of those goals, he at least have some supporting cast that can help him scoring the goal, and also the fact that Atlanta team had different ways of beating and scoring, find a way to score goals. This Galaxy team only have one way to score goals, and that is just launch the ball to Zlatan, launch the ball in the box, and just hope for the best. And it's clear that teams have figured that out, and teams have find a way to shut them down, and the Galaxy just does not have a plan B right now. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this week's MLS action. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this week's action. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.